Do you guys remember the character from the TV series One Tree Hill called Peyton Sawyer? I think she had a podcast, and while I didn't really understand what it meant at the time, I thought it was really interesting. If I remember correctly, I think this was my introduction to podcasts. I was fascinated by the idea that you could just journal your thoughts and have people listen and look forward to every episode. Hello there, and welcome to the Cocoa Butter Junkie podcast. I'm Michelle, and this is my podcast. This is a podcast on the everyday reflections and experiences of a Kenyan woman. It is my examination of life living through mental health issues, grief, growing up, aka kicking and screaming into adulthood, the experiences of being a woman in Kenya, making friends as an adult, struggles with faith, and a bunch of other topics. Thank you for listening. Hi guys, welcome to the final episode of season 1 of Cocoa Butter Junkie. Yeah, I've decided to do the podcast in seasons, and I will be taking a break for a couple of weeks. And by a couple of weeks, I don't mean two. I'm not really sure when I will be back, but that doesn't mean the podcast has ended. It just means that I am working on new episodes, and so that means there will not be an episode next week or maybe the next one. I'm not really sure when the episodes will be back, but the podcast has not ended, guys. So yeah, I know. It's been fun. Yeah, but I will be taking a mental health break, but I will also be working on new episodes. I'm working on having new guests come in. I'm working on having probably doctors, psychologists come and, okay, maybe not come, but, having conversations with more people, have more stories, have maybe psychologists. A couple of my guests are willing to come back and tell us about their progress. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm working on it, and that will be coming in season 2. So, guys, stay tuned and be on the lookout for the next season. Today, I will be talking to you about the glitz and glam of what goes on behind the scenes of the Cocoa Butter Junkie podcast. And I know I've told you guys I just sit in my wardrobe and talk to myself on my phone, but there's much more that goes into into producing a podcast than just talking to myself on my phone. So today I'm going to take you behind the scenes and let you know how I do the podcast. By the way, I'm thinking of doing an IG live, an Instagram live, to answer any questions. And for those who never seen me or want to see what I look like, this would be your opportunity. So if you are up for an IG live, please let me know. Go to my IG DMs and DM me. Let me know if you are interested in the IG live. I will also be announcing this on the account. So looking forward to it. If you have any questions about my mental health, about your mental health, about what I have done, what I'm currently doing, any questions you may have, I think I will do it on the live. So let me know if you are interested. I will only do it if I get a good number. So guys, let me know. By the way, the Peyton Sawyer podcast is available somewhere on the net. I will link it in the show notes if you are interested, or if you don't remember One Tree Hill, maybe you can check out the link in the show notes. So the first podcast I was really into was Serial. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to Google. This was a really interesting podcast, especially the first season. And then after I finished Serial, I got into This American Life, which led me to other podcasts like Strangers and Reply All. Strangers introduced me to other podcasts like Millennial, Not by Accident, This is Love, and then Reply All introduced me into the Gimlet universe. I've listened to a lot of Gimlet podcasts, and I think I'm still subscribed to some of them. There are some I no longer listen to, and I think they keep coming up with new ones every day, so there's always something to listen to. And then from there, I just found myself into the endless rabbit hole that is podcasts. The first couple of Kenyan podcasts that I got into were Kenyan Queer Questions and The Spread. Yes, I know. We'll talk about that later. I found these podcasts on SoundCloud, and I haven't listened to them for a while now, and I think I should get back to them. And then after that, I started listening to Otherwise by Brenda Wambui, and this is when I really started to get into Kenyan podcasts. So I started to search for more Kenyan and more African podcasts. And the more I listened to Brenda Wambui, the more I thought that I want to do a podcast myself one day maybe. But I thought it was just something I would want to do in the future until COVID. So I'm going to take you behind the scenes of the Cocoa Butter Junkie podcast. It's nothing really glamorous, but I know I've told you it's my phone and my wardrobe, but there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. So come with me. Number one, for episode ideas, I did not have that many. Let me just be honest. I just had maybe like 4, and then I thought, I was like, maybe I could start a podcast. And then when I first got my phone to start recording, I was like, so what do I say? Number 2, I remember when I was recording the first episode, I was hyperventilating. I was doing several takes. I was questioning myself, like, who do you think you are? I remember hating my voice, and then just learning how I sound when I record, and then wishing I would sound different and wanting to produce my words differently. Number 5, there are side effects with any medication, so brace yourself. Sometimes you might cut that out. So next is equipment. So I use my phone to mainly record, but then thankfully I have Audacity, which is the software that I use, and it's free to download. So, and also let's not forget my closet where I do the recording. Another thing I deal with is the fear and doubt of how the podcast would be received. I was wondering, would it be interesting enough for anyone to want to listen to on a weekly basis, or maybe binge all the episodes? I wasn't really sure. I was comparing myself to all these other podcasts that I've been listening to, and I was like, I don't think it can be as good, and I don't know if I have anything to say that anybody would want to listen to. But then I was like, I'll just do it. Whoever will listen, and I'm glad that you have joined in and are listening and are part of the community, which is one of those wonderful surprises that have come out of this podcast. There's this community, mostly ladies and women, but there are some men who are listening, who are part of the community. And thank you so much for listening and for giving your feedback and for sharing with your friends. So let's keep on building our community. Another thing I've learned doing the podcast is having to do the socials. So I have created social media accounts and pages before, and it's something that I've done so many times, and I haven't always loved the process. So there's FB, there's Twitter, there's IG, there's Linktree, and then there's distribution on so many platforms. I didn't know there were so many platforms you have to distribute your podcast to. So there's Stitcher, there's iTunes, there's Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Anchor FM, which is where I host my podcast. There's Libsyn, there's Buzzsprout, Spotify, Pandora, Castbox, Breaker. There's so many, guys. On my list of things, number 8 would be I was worried about sharing my personal experiences, aka kujianika. I am concerned with every episode that I'm oversharing, putting my business out in these podcast streets. And just because I have done it doesn't mean it's been easy. Admitting to mental health issues is not something we do openly in this country. Number 9 would be dealing with unwanted background sounds while recording. Yeah, so the reason I do this in my wardrobe is because it's almost soundproof and there's minimal noise, but there's always those few sounds that get through. Like I have told you before, sometimes you can hear my family in the background. Of course, I live in a house, so I'm not going to tell people to stop moving around. So you will hear a door bang sometimes. You will hear somebody dragging something. You will hear somebody calling someone. And then sometimes you may hear animals like crickets at night. And we have 2 dogs. And then also there's the sound of cars and bodas passing, sounds that just go with living anywhere. Try to comfort, but I would rather your silence than the words. Be strong. Really? Number 10 on my list would be I've had to outline what I'm going to say. Like I've said before, like when the first time I got to my phone and I wanted to start recording, I wasn't sure exactly what to say. So I realized that I had to sit down and jot down my thoughts and then started to talk. I've not really studied scripting or outlining or even researched what it means to do that in a professional manner. But for me, what I do is just to outline what I'm going to say in the recording. And also, can you tell I'm reading this? Number 11 on my list would be my mental health status after recording certain episodes, like episode 3, when I talked about my brother's death. I had no idea that it would have an effect on me. I was trying to be very matter of fact and tell you A happened and then B happened and then I reacted like this and then this happened. And I thought that if I said that I would not be relieving the trauma. But yeah, shock on me. I tried to ignore my feelings afterwards and I tried to stuff them down, but clearly my body and my mind remembered. So let's just say it was a long and hard 2 weeks after that, guys. And even after talking to Christabel, talking to Sarah, talking to Mary, and then also the ladies who sent in their stories for episode 8, just reliving some of those experiences also affected me. So another thing I think about when making the podcast is the episode length. When I started, I wasn't really sure. If you listen to the first episode, I think it was like 5 minutes long. And I was thinking how short is too short? Is 5 minutes too short? Is 1 hour too short? I keep finding myself grappling with the length of each episode. And I don't know, maybe this is one area you guys can give me your feedback on. Yeah, so let me know what is a good podcast length for you. Number 13 on my list would be finding the right background music. So I've gotten a few comments on the background music that I use, and some of you really like it. The name of the track is called Happy African Village by somebody called John Batman. I found it on the internet somewhere. I think I'll link it in the show notes. By the way, it's always linked in the show notes if you want to Google it. I also really like it. But then in the beginning, finding the right background music, on the internet, there is so much music I can use. And then it's so much work trying to find a couple. And then there are so many different types of licenses and how you can use it. Are you supposed to give credit to the creator? Are you supposed to... Yeah, so the music that I use is... it's free to use, but you have to credit the creator, the musician, the person who made the track. So that is what I do on every episode. And then next would be I've had to learn how to edit audio. So I have never in my life edited any sort of audio. And then in June, out of nowhere, so I decide I'm going to start a podcast, and then I have to learn how to edit. And thankfully, Audacity, which is a software I use to edit, it's not difficult to learn. If you want to learn how to edit audio, Audacity is good. And while I still have a long way to go in perfecting my editing skills, I'm glad that it's a new skill that I've gotten during this period. And I have learned how we sound when we talk and how to edit some things out. Like, for example, I have realized that I swallow a lot and make sort of click sounds. I don't know. And then I've also learned how other people talk. So sometimes we have silences and for long periods, and then sometimes we have clicks, and then those are things you learn to edit out. Yeah, I'm really taking out the glitz and glamour of the podcast here. Yeah, but this is what really happens behind the scenes. And then I've learned there's this word that I use like here in my vocabulary, like at the end of a thought. So what the hell is here? How do you even spell that? So yeah, that is me learning to edit audio. Number 15 would be hyperventilating on episodes 1 and 4, especially if you've listened. Could you tell? So these are the days when my anxiety was really high, but I was determined I was going to do that episode. So I was like, whatever it sounds like, and I'm going to do this. So let me know if you could tell. Number 16 would be that this is the first time in a long time that I've done something new that is taxing, but at the same time exciting for me. So COVID has actually brought some positivity into my life. Having this podcast is a lot of work, but after a long time in my life, I'm just happy to sit for hours editing, hating my work, doing the distribution, learning new things, doing the socials, and doing the graphics. I don't know, guys. Is this what they call passion? And then lastly, I've had to learn that how I write doesn't necessarily translate into speaking. I used to, at some point, thought I was a writer. I considered myself a writer. I don't know. But then I've just had to learn that whenever I write something, even if it sounds really creative and artistic, it doesn't necessarily sound the same when I speak it out loud. So yeah, something else I've had to learn during the podcast. So if you're into Kenyan podcasts, or if you don't know of any Kenyan podcasts, here are some that I'm currently listening to. Otherwise podcast, although it's on a break, but it's a really, really good podcast. Yeah, you should get onto it. Whenever I listen to it, I feel really, really woke. I don't know. Have you guys listened to other ways? Let me know. Send me your comments on my IG at Kokobata Junkie. Another podcast I'm listening to is Surviving Nairobi. I listened to Legally Clueless. If you've not listened to Legally Clueless by Adele Onyango, where have you been? I listened to Living Truthfully, which is also another popular podcast. It's by Amani Maranga, and I think I've recommended it before. I listen also to CKIZA, spelled CKIZA. I listen to the Human Interest Podcast by Evelyn Wambui. My African Startup Story, Too Simple. I listen to The Backstory. And finally, another podcast I have recommended before is Mwende Says. It's still a new podcast, but it's good, guys. So I just want to say thank you for being a part of the community. I did not know that when I started the podcast that there would be a whole community listening and identifying and supporting and sharing their own stories. Again, thank you. I want to normalize mental health issues, and I want us to talk about mental health issues the way we talk about malaria or migraines. Mental health is just as important as physical health. So you being a part of this community helps me achieve that goal. So again, thank you. I would love to have more of you on the podcast to share your stories, especially mental health stories. So guys, if you're willing, please send me your stories, any of my socials, or you can also get in contact with me via email, kokobatajunkie@gmail.com. I would really love to have you on the podcast. So send me your stories. And also, as you come to the end of the season, the first season, please share, and subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. Please rate and review the podcast so it will help others find the podcast. Again, guys, just a quick question. Would you be interested in a live? We would sort of talk about the episodes we've already covered. We would talk about where I am with my mental health. You can share with me your stories. You can ask me questions about the past episodes, or ask me any sort of questions. So let me know again on my socials. I'm mostly on IG, so you will get an answer fastest on IG, but you can also find me on Facebook, on Twitter, and my email. So I will link all my social media details in the show notes. Talk to me, guys. Let me know what topics you would like to be covered in the next season. It's just a few weeks away. So as I said, the podcast is not done. I will be back just working on some new ideas. So be on the lookout for that. And then lastly, I would just like to know from you guys, would you be interested in paid exclusive content? Let me know. I have started a Patreon account, which I would love your support on. Go to patreon.com/kokobatajunkie. I would really love your support. Please help me keep the podcast going. I would like to go out and get more experiences from people. I would like to involve professionals. And as I've told you, it takes time, it takes commitment, and even money. So please consider supporting the podcast. Again, it's patreon.com/kokobatajunkie. I will work on getting an M-Pesa till number, but in the meantime, please support the podcast on Patreon. So the last recommendations of this season are the Twilight App. This is an app that helps you with it, like filters out the blue light on your phone. So if you're having trouble sleeping and you use your phone to like soothe you to sleep, like me, it helps if you can filter out the blue light so that you can sleep, because the blue lights, for some reason, I don't know the medical explanation, but I have read that it stops the production of melatonin or something. and which is supposed to help you sleep. So I have downloaded Twilight App, and yeah, I use this at night from around 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning. So in case it helps me to just soothe myself to sleep, even if my phone is still on. I can just put on a long YouTube video or a podcast and listen. The phone will still be on, but I will fall asleep eventually. And then the other recommendation is Jesus and Jollof, another awesome podcast. It's just two Nigerian American girls talking about different issues. It's really, really funny. And yeah, get on that, guys. And if you've listened to Jesus and Jollof, please let me know what you thought. Guys, that's the end of season 1. I have loved doing this season. I'm looking forward to season 2. Please be on the lookout for season 2, and I think I may drop a few bonus episodes before season 2 officially starts, but that's the season. Thank you for listening, and bye.